this episode, you're gonna see us flock the dash.
I be flocking.
The first half will be prepping the dash to apply the flock. The second half will be the tips and tricks and how we flocked it. So watch through to the end. You guys can learn from the way that we did it and maybe correct some of our mistakes if you go to flock your own dash. Some of our tips and tricks might help you get a better final product.
What do you use? Unleaded? Regular unleaded?
Premium.
It decided to rain on us today, and now we're under our tent in front of the expedition. At least we're staying dry, and this weather should pass in probably 10 minutes. Flocking is most commonly used in jewelry box making. The inside of the jewelry box has that suede feel, and what that actually is it's a flock compound that's applied to the jewelry box to give it that soft texture. It's used in automotive, mostly in racing applications. I think it first started out in rally racing. So when you're going through the trees, you get glares or sun flares coming through the trees that will hit the dash, and that gives a really bad glare to the driver. Applying the flock gives almost a flat black color, or you can flock actually in any color. What we want to do is just get the dash fairly disassembled. The stuff on the back side of the dash are all just Phillips screws. You can see everywhere there's Phillips screws. I've got a Phillips screwdriver ready to go, and then a magnet tray to keep all the screws in, and an assortment of picks and hook tools. That cracking sound you hear is just the threads of the screw releasing from the plastic, because I've been holding in there in the same spot for almost 30 years. So now we're going to pull the defrost ducting out. We're going to pull the dash vents out, and those ones are just going to get tossed. We're not going to reinstall them. Sneak the side ducts for the defrost out now that I've got room. And remove this section, and it's getting scrapped. What I want to do is remove the metal structure and the dash bar from this dash. What we need to do is disconnect any wiring harnesses that are attached to the dash independently from the dash bar structure. So the main wiring harness runs across the dash bar, and then they splice off to their independent locations. So these ones go to the gauge cluster here. These ones were all stereo radio wiring. The only ones that we need to worry about right now are the ones that we had actually undone when removing the dash. So the cigarette lighter we had previously unplugged, and the vanity lights or the door ajar lights here. The ones that we haven't undone yet are the headlight dimmer switch, and then there's one more piece of wiring that goes to a blanked out plate beside the dimmer switch that we'll undo and get out of our way. So they just have a plastic tab that you depress and pull the harness out like all the rest that we've done before, and same with the blanked out plate one. Over time, from pulling on that hood release, it's actually cracked the plastic frame, and the screw isn't actually holding anything anymore. There's gonna be a couple locations now I can actually see the screw right down here. The plastic is actually cracked off of it as well. We'll leave that, we're not too worried about it. It may cause a squeak in the dash later on down the road. If you're doing like a full Miata restoration, you may be a bit more concerned with that. We are not. If the piece of plastic had cracked off, you could glue it back on and then run a screw in, or put the screw in the hole and epoxy it to the dash, and that would secure that. So there's two screws underneath where your instrument cluster go that go into the dash bar.
There's
the piece of plastic that broke off the frame. above the glove box location, there's 2 screws. This one again is broken, probably from opening and closing the glove box. This support plate is here to stop the dash probably from warping. In our application, we don't need it. I'm just going to undo the 3 screws and take this plate right off. And then now what we're going to do is we're going to pop out the door jar vanity lights. We're going to remove the cigarette lighter. And then we're going to pop off the dimmer switch and these blanking plates on either side. So with a flat blade screwdriver, you can pop the front face of the vanity lights off. Just wedge the screwdriver in behind. That will give you access to replace the bulb. And then with that out, it looks like there's a couple plastic tabs that you just depress on the side with your flat blade screwdriver, and the whole light will come out through the front of the dash. Just for storage sake, I'm gonna clip the vanity cover lens back on. So the cigarette lighter center portion itself will just push through the dash with a bit of force. So I'm just gonna grab it pretty hard and then wiggle it back and forth. Yeah, once you've got the cigarette lighter center section out, it's easy for the bezel piece to just fall off. So we'll press that tab in, pushing the plate out. I'm gonna use a 90-degree hook tool to get in on that side. Push the plastic tab in, drop that one out. Now I'm gonna pull the vents out. And the vent is out. The center section on the dash pad that runs the length is actually in 2 pieces. There's the one piece that surrounds your vent on the driver's side, and they're held in with these black plastic tabs. So what I'm gonna do is try to just pry that plastic tab up, try to force the plastic off gently, try to do it without breaking the part. I've got those tabs loose. Pull the dash pad off. There. I'm not even sure what that is, whether it's like a silicone or just glue. We're gonna do the same thing on the passenger side, so right above the tombstone. So there's one plastic clip there. That's it. The adhesive on the dash pad side just kind of peeled off, and you can see this one here, I can pretty much just pull it off in a long strip. I'm gonna pop off the vent grills for the defrost on the window vents. So it's easier for me to get them out from the back side. They are just kind of pressed in with some plastic tabs, but if you wedge your screwdriver in between the tabs and pry down, then they'll pop out really easy. Our VIN tag is gonna leave an area exposed where you won't get the best contact with our texture that we're gonna put on. So what I'm gonna do is drill out the 2 rivets on the VIN plate, and then we'll rivet it back on after the texture is installed. Grab yourself a step bit like this. They're easiest for a situation like this, but really any situation where you need to drill a pilot hole and then you want to increase the size of the hole. For rivets, they're great because you can just start drilling in the rivet. It's already got like a pilot indent, and then the step bit will just do its work to get the rivet out. So all you're doing is you're drilling through the center section of the rivet, But once you've drilled the rivet out, all you're left with is the top part. So I'll get both of these. And then the VIN plate will just pop off. So I have a pair of end cutters. Gonna just grip the head of the rivet, and then it pulled off pretty easy. I noticed these little dimples run across the top of the dash. There's 4 of them, and they're actually a little push-in, like plastic Christmas tree. Oh, that one broke. So just pop these. The glove box, we essentially just want to prep the front section. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the hinges, and I'm also going to remove the latch. 5 screws, I believe, that just hold the glove box latch in. There's 1 down in the middle there, and then there's 4 that run across the top. These 2, I think, just hold the latch onto this bracket. So I'll pull these off. They're more Phillips screws. And that has the lock cylinder and the handle for the glove box built into this one piece. We're gonna flock the gauge hood, the dash, and the glove box, but we're gonna leave the center sections of the dash as their black textured coat. And the reason I'm gonna do that is because when the dash is installed in the car, you have a visual line that runs across the middle of the dash, and then it also connects to the door cards on the top of the door. And if we flocked the door cards, that would be a high traffic area, and sure enough, your arm resting on it or your shoulder touching it when you're getting in and out of the car or something, it would rub that flock off. And if we flock the dash entirely with the center section, it would give a bad look to the car if we flock the dash and not the top of the door cards. So now we're just gonna prep the surfaces to receive the adhesive for the flocking compound. This is red Scotch Brite. The strength of the Scotch Brite is listed by color. So you've got gray, red, and black. I just generally use red for everything. We're just gonna scuff up the surfaces that we want the adhesive to be able to stick to. Now we're gonna flock the dash and the dash components. So we already hit the glove box and the dash hood with the SOS pad. And now I've just degreased them with the same automotive degreasing paint prep that we used on the inside of the car. And I've laid out everything that we need to apply the flock. So I've got the paper towel and the degreaser that I just used on those parts. We have our flock adhesive here. This is just the glue that holds the flock compound down. We have a couple brushes to lay down the glue, just a screwdriver and hammer to be able to open that container. And then we have the flock and the application tool here. So the flock is just a black powder substance that you essentially mist over top of the glue that you apply with this flock applicator. And so you fill up the container with the flock powder, and then you pump it and it blows the flock through those holes at the part that you've applied the glue. You only have a short window of time to be able to get your flock applied once you lay the glue down. It's like 10-15 minutes working time. So you want to make sure you have everything you need laid out, ready to go. The instructions say to have the container about half full. A flat blade screwdriver will help get those off. So the adhesive is actually black, so that when you lay it down, it gives you a consistent color once you put the flock on it. I'm just gonna get the glue sunk into the bristles. It says that it will self-level, and that you just want enough on there to coat the surface. You don't want it running. Now we'll start applying the flock. That's all I get.
6 minutes.
Whoa. Maybe I was blowing the flock off the glue. This is a hard edge in the shape of the dash. Look at those spots there where the glue ran. We left the dash and everything to cure overnight. The problem we ran into was that struggle between trying to get the flock on quickly after applying the glue. In doing that, you end up stressed out and you're rushing through the job. What I'd recommend is anywhere you have a 90-degree edge on the product that you're flocking, tape it off and just focus on sections. So what I had done was tried to focus on the top section of the dash, and I did tape off the bottom section where there was a hard line. What we should have done was taped it off more at this hard line here where the top section of the dash curves down to the 90 on the side. Because I was rushing through it, there are obvious spots in the flock where I just completely missed glue or adhesive on the dash. Looks like right there, and it looks like also this section right here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use air compressor and just blow off and try to even out the flock on the dash. The glove box lid turned out perfect. It's a really small section. It's just a square. It's pretty easy to apply the adhesive there. The gauge hood turned out really patchy, and that could be a result of either rushing through it again or because it was a smooth surface when we started, whereas the dash and the glove box were actually that textured rough dash surface. So we're gonna try right now to do some touch-ups, and like I said, we're gonna blow off the excess and see if we can get it to even out or smooth out. After we blew everything off, we kind of decided that it might be acceptable. The sides are actually hidden. The only time you see those is when the door is open. And because we left that center dash pad section unflocked, it may give us a good contrast having the bottom half of the dash remain dash material and only have flocked the top section with the gauge hood. And actually the glove box looks pretty good, and because we left the handle and the lock unflocked, it may give some really good looking contrast. I don't know about you guys, but I think that looks really good. Yeah, it's definitely good to do it in sections, regardless as to whether you're doing it for ease of applying the flock or if you're doing it because of the styling and the way it looks after it's applied. Because now, like, this was a natural edge in the dash that was already existing, and we decided to tape it off to give us that smaller section of flock for us to apply. I wish I had done an even smaller section, just only focused on the top of the dash. We might have got a little bit better consistency that way, but I'm still pretty happy with the results. The one spot right here, we looked back at the footage and you can actually see that we completely missed applying the glue here. Let's be guinea pigs here. If you miss that section, can you repair it? I definitely just applied way too much flock. So the main objective here was to cut down glare. We weren't flocking for a show car finish. This car is going to be a track car or a street track car. So cutting down glare is what the flock is designed to do. And I think we've achieved that with the flock that we've applied. Do not underestimate the amount of flock you need in that applicator. It needs to be almost filled to the brim, or have two of them, or like apply it and have somebody else ready with a funnel just dump some more in, or something. Anything you can do to quickly get the flock on the glue is the biggest thing. And in saying that, anything you can do to get the glue quickly on the product is the main goal. Unless you can get that glue on there quick, you're going to end up with missed spots. And so because you're stressed out and you're rushing to get the glue on there within, we were shooting for a 5-minute window, you end up with spots where you just miss. If you guys like the content, subscribe, give us a like. See you guys next week. Thanks, guys.